The following program is suitable for general audience of any age. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed without any censorship and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TPS, where we discuss about the most relevant and pressing conversations that shape the future of the political landscape of Sri Lanka. Now, down the lane, we have been discussing in various episodes about how the political landscape of Sri Lanka has been reshaping. And we have been talking about the economic crisis as well as the IMF and everything related to these consequences. But today's topic is something which is local, and it is the development of local industries and how much we have put our potential and we have given that respective decision-making process for all the people as well as the leaders. So to discuss about the current situation of the development of the local industries, today joining with me I have Dr.Seneth Gajasinghe, a representative from the Independent Party, as well as Mr. Subhaga Herath from the Samagi Jana Balawegaya. Welcome you to today's program. All right, so gentlemen, now Sri Lanka is in a particular turning point. It is seen that we are transforming, or rather growing or evolving with regards to the economic landscape as well, because we see that with the recent incidents, specifically our Prime Minister Harini Amarasuriya going to India and also coming up with this complementary base where they bring about to become a hub for India in terms of textiles and apparel and whatsoever. So there are certain improvements with regards to it as well. But let me get into the point. Now, how do you see the current situation when it comes to the local industries? Do you feel like they are evolving with all these, I believe, the international exposure or else the investor contribution? Likewise, do you think it is evolving, or rather it is just seen as it's evolving, rather it's stagnant?
Yes, so if we are discussing about the local industrial development, I think it's a well-known fact at the moment there is some lag in the development. So it's something that we have to accept. I think it's widely discussed in many forums. So what we have to discuss is, one thing is why it is not evolving, or why it is not developing, or then what we can do to change this scenario. So one reason that we think is, this government is facing some challenges. So largely our government is working with the IMF targets. So if you go through the IMF targets, they have given various objectives with a timeline. So one thing under those list is the debt. They have to control the debt in their budget. They have to keep it by 95% of GDP by 2032. There's another target, that is primary budget surplus. That's to be kept around 2.3% of GDP by 2025. I think the government is, they are taking these numerical values and they are focusing on these things to continue with the IMF plan. So what is the result? We see these various ministers and come and say that we have saved this much of money from the money given from the budget. But what do they say? What they have done is they have prevented spending the capital expenditure. So why this capital expenditure is given in the last budget? It was given by themselves, because these things need to be changed, or there are certain structural changes that need to flourish the industrial framework. So they are saving that money to maintain IMF targets. What's the end result? So we don't get the infrastructure development needed for the local industries. That is a big mistake we are seeing at the moment. So you can't go only with this IMF targets, the specific targets. It's not like you achieve 3 out of 5 IMF targets, because you have to achieve 5 out of 5. Because what are the main achievements at the end. By 2028, we have to restart paying our loans. So for that, we have target foreign reserves. These are unmatchable with our history targets. So it says 9.3 billion by end of 2026, 13.1 billion by 2027. This is actually the double the maximum we had in our past. So if we do not develop our industrial framework and improve our foreign revenues, okay, there are two other options. One is the foreign employment, other one is tourism. But we know that we are not very effective in both items. So if we are to develop as a nation, we have to focus on local industrial development. For that, we need infrastructure development. For that, there is a role for the government. Therefore, they have to focus on all possibilities rather than just saving money and achieving IMF, the particular IMF targets, which are not really the highest in the priority list.
All right. In that sense, I believe what you meant is that the government is focusing specifically on the IMF targets, rather not focusing on the local industries as well, but they actually crucially play a significant role in the improvement of the economy. Thank you so much. So what do you think about the direction that the country is going about when it comes to the development of these local industries? Because I think, as he mentioned as well, it is pivotal to establish the local industries rather than focusing on the other avenues specifically.
Yes, it's a great question, and I have identified 8 factors that needs to enhance the development of local industries, right? So it starts with education. First of all, we are living in a very competitive world, right? And we are all of a sudden dropped into the reality or to the world where you have so many responsibilities: earning, living, developing your life, getting married, children, etc., etc. So everyone is fighting to survive rather than to live, right? So one of the biggest suggestions that I could make to develop faster, better, efficient is to have life skills trained in school itself, in the latter years especially, because there are 2 ways this can go. Either the student can pass their O-levels, A-levels and find a good job after university, or some students may fail, fall back, but that doesn't end life there. They still have to come up, they still have to develop. And these students actually have the talent, they have the common sense or street smart to come up with their own innovation, development, new ideas that can help the economy, right? And the government should be there with a program to help them carry forward. It cannot be all academics. I mean, this 2025, there are so many influence. Online platforms, digitalization, self-learning has nothing to do with the the curriculum or the syllabus that's stereotyped, right? So there's so many. We have to identify national resources. We are in Sri Lanka, we have so many resources, right? I'll give you a good example of where we can develop. Graphite, right? So graphite, we export 99% graphite. And what is graphite used for? To making batteries. Batteries that goes to all electronics, right? The mobile phone, tabs, laptops, whatever. So we import billions of dollars, just those items, but we send the raw product. So why can't we make this raw product a finished brand rather than importing these components by exporting the raw material? Why not we give a value addition to the product itself? These are certain things that we could have done or should have done long time ago, right? Then, like the good doctor said, we have system efficiency, where things have to be clear, where things have to be easier for a small, medium enterprise business owner, or even a large corporation. The amount of red tapes. If you want to get something done to eliminate bribery, you can use digitalization for this. This is again development to get things done faster in a competitive, moving world, right? Then you have to not depend too much on imports. We are having so much of imports, but not as much as exporting. We have stats here, 75% are categorized in SL as SMEs. 45% generate employment from that. And from all of that, 20% is only exports, right? So that is something that we can really improve on rather than importing, because that will directly achieve our IMF targets as well. So like the good doctor said, it's not about aiming the IMF targets. Yes, it's very important too, but developing the country in the background is going to reach those targets in the end of the day. Yes.
All right. So, in that context, what you believe is that there should be a approach from the very start, very beginning, where
Very beginning.
the youth itself
Definitely.
gets involved, and then
Definitely.
there's a particular, a straightforward way where we can actually develop the local industries rather than taking up whenever a situation pops up.
That's right, definitely.
All right. Okay. So now I'm going to ask about a very recent incident. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction as well, now the visit of Prime Minister Harini Amrasuriya to India actually was a pivotal moment for Sri Lanka. And also the fact that she mentioned that Sri Lanka is ready to serve as a complementary production base for India when it comes to particularly textiles, electronics and fruit processing. So in your opinion, now India is our closest friend, and we need to always have our neighborhood countries in good hand and in a good perspective, because we need their support in our growth aspect as well. Now, in this context, how do you feel Sri Lanka becoming a complementary production base for all these materials like textile, electronics and food processing?
Yes, yeah, it's like this. We call it politics, and in some forms we call it politricks. So it's a challenging thing, right? So you call India as our neighbor, but at the same time India is our competitor, and at the same time India is our market, right? So we can't give a straight answer whether that particular thing is good or bad for our country. It's all depend on how our leaders handle it. Do they have guts to handle it? Do they have skill to handle it? And do they have tactical ways to handle the thing? Because we always know India is many times powerful than us. So you have a competitor, but you have a friend who is many times stronger than you. So it's all depend on the way we handle the situation, how we support our local industries, and how we create the market from the India, and how we can join together and export these products out of Asia. So whether you become the country under the control of India, or whether you become another free nation which join hand with India to develop both nations. So it's a way how things progress rather than just yes or no answer.
All right. So it is actually the time will say as to what is the progress and the element. Is it positive or negative, or is it some danger whatsoever? It will time will actually decide on it.
It's like this because it's already proven that Modi is a strong leadership. So whether our leadership is capable of handling it according to the politics, I mean not by rivalry or not by attacking, via politics.
Diplomatically.
Yeah,
Yes.
diplomatically.
Very true. So now I'm actually going to ask your opinion with regards to another notion that was brought out with our Prime Minister's visit. So the Prime Minister also spoke of upgrading the 37-year-old free trade agreement with India into a more economically aligned one for an economic and technology cooperation agreement. So do you think this is positive with regards to how we are going forward? Because we do have certain circumstances where we are suffering in terms of the IMF agreement and also the economic crisis. We are trying to get over it. So do you think potentially this agreement to get into an economic and technology cooperation agreement is a pivotal milestone, or rather, as he mentioned as well, it has its risks?
Definitely. I mean, everything has risks. So everything has a good side and a bad side to it. We hope for the best because we do need aid from a powerful country like India. But what we need to remember is that this is well thought out and planned by India, right? You know, this is actually a fruit through another way of their plan. Now, in 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi came up with the initiative of Made in India or Make in India. So this is the plan that they had. This was basically to create jobs, to make a global manufacturing hub, job creation, skill development, investment, domestic and foreign companies. So they planned in 2014, they did this yesterday. I mean, brilliant. This is what we need. We need a vision, we need to stick to that plan, be consistent on it. We have governments coming in, we have policies being changed. All of this affects small, medium enterprises. Yeah, between 2019, 2024, so many interruptions because of either tariffs or taxations or import instability. So many things have been changed again and again and again. But this is a very good example of planning and outcome results, right? So what they aimed, the Make in India thing, has now branched into different thing, and now it's bearing more fruit. So it's brilliant. So everything does have a risk, but we must keep in mind as well not to take too much on. Our plate is full already. We do need to be focused on several things simultaneously, and we need to know that, okay, this is our capacity, we can handle it, we can achieve these goals. If it works out, brilliant. I don't oppose, because it's going to be good for all of us. But you have to be on it. It's just not just launching something or doing something on media and then not having results out of it.
Yes, I think this actually directly impacts the local industries as well, because it will create more job opportunities, plus the exposure to an international neighborhood country which has a big power in industry.
Definitely.
Amazing. So I believe this conversation was all about the development of local industries, and also we discussed as to how it is crucial the impact of international neighborhood countries, as well as the approaches we take in terms of making sure that the internal aspect of economy is being growing. So let's discuss more about the development of the local industries. Before then, let's go in for a short commercial break. This is TPS. Welcome back to TPS. We are discussing about the development of local industries, and now it's about how Sri Lanka is diversifying the certain aspects of local industries. So now for decades, garments, tea, and these industries have been the way we have gone about in terms of our economy. And how do you feel like now Sri Lanka is diversifying? It's getting into electronics, rubber, and also food processing gains a lot of traction. So do you think diversifying from the normal aspects of the money generating avenues, like obviously as I mentioned garment, tea and all, do you think this is a positive element that now we are getting into the point of a diversified industrial segment?
Yes, so it's actually a good thing, because I think it's not something that we can prevent, or it's not something that we are really doing, but it's something that is happening. So along the timeline in the history, things change, it's keep changing. So always we have to move forward, addressing new markets and finding new avenues. So it's like that, that TV came to Sri Lanka. It's not something that someone did, it's inevitable. Then the computer, then the smartphone, like that. When the market changes, when the demand changes, we have to change. So it's happening. But what is important is whether this change is identified and guided by the central mechanism. So that's what need to be happen. You can't just let it happening, because that is not that effective. So what we see is the change is happening, but that's what is inevitable. We don't see a proper plan where those needs and changes are identified and needed infrastructure is made. So that's the role of the government. So we don't see that sort of a guidance towards this new emerging concepts or businesses, or even for the companies. So that's what we expect from a government, which we see some lagging behind.
All right, so what you meant was like that it should have a proper plan, like it happened all of a sudden now, tea, and all of a sudden now we are getting into food processing as well, and then we are getting into electronics, but there's no proper futuristic plan for it.
Yeah, in the simple form, if I am going to describe you in a way that everyone can understand. So last time there was excess of kiri samba, but lack of nadu. But if you see the after the next production, there will be excess of nadu, lack of kiri samba. The reason, because people or the farmers are not guided They were not directed, this is the requirement. So this fraction has to produce Kirisamba. Then this fraction has to be produced Nadu. There is no guidance, there is no data available from a central mechanism, which is the responsibility of the government. So this time when pharmacy there is a higher price and the lack of Nadu, they all start to produce Nadu from next term. So it is not the way to develop a country. So when you see that there is a food processing production, so government has to formulate a plan, and this is the number that need to be produced. So you select certain areas, you support certain entrepreneurs to produce those factories or farming areas. Then you target on electronic areas. So you limit it. You don't let them to make excess, because then they will lose the market, and they will be in a losing hand. So that sort of a guidance is needed from a central mechanism. You can't just, then there is no need of a government. If you are just letting people to decide and then people doing on its own, then there is no need of a government. So we are maintaining a central mechanism, because now our president has clearly said we are not going to do business. He said it twice, once about this bus stand, shop markets, and then about this Ratnapura tourism planning. So he said government is not going to do business. So if government is not going to do business, then government has to guide the businesses. So they have to do one of the two, otherwise there is no point of having a government and people are expending on nourishing this parliament and the president's office. No. So that is the problem. So do our government has a plan to guide these new developments and new avenues?
Right. So just as much as the diversification happens in the economy, there should be a proper plan in the futuristic element as well. So, all right. So now when it comes to the recent updates, I believe the Lanka Ashok Leyland recently announced that they have a precisioning of bringing about strong assembling these parts and the buses to manufacture buses locally itself. So I think it is something that we have not heard in the recent past, but something new as well for the Ashok Leyland itself, telling that, okay, we need to work around with Sri Lanka manufacturing buses. Do you think this is something that we should go about immediately, or it should have been something that we could have done once the economy is much more stable?
Actually, the right answer is this should have been done way before, right? So we have the lorry body or the lorry chassis, and then we have the metal framework around it, and then we call it a bus, but those are not buses. The brake pads, the suspension levels, the steering, it's all very different from a lorry to a bus. So now we realize why, because of all these accidents. So how many people have died? How many incidents have happened? Could have been avoided. And now when everything is in a very small bottleneck tunnel, we're trying to push everything. Great, at least if we realize these things now, and if you can get it done, it's amazing, great. But timing is very important, and before, even when you asked about this diversification, you can't just do everything all together. So first thing you need to do is establish policies. Once policies are established, you can't change it from one government to the other government, because that disrupts with all this development. It really does, right? So once this policy is established, then we must have a data-driven result output. Because if we don't be continuous and consistent with one of these policies and see how it works, we don't know what the data is, we don't know what the result is. And that is why, like what doctor said, one Yalakanne we have something else, one Mahakanne we have something else, because we don't have the correct data. It's very important. Now again, back to your topic, the Ashoka Leyland. It's great that they realize, good if they can do, but how much are we going to spend to replace all these buses? So right now, is it important? It is important because it is involved with human life. That's public transport, right? And a lot of people in Sri Lanka, we live in poverty, and we use the most common, the bus, right? We all get together in it, get crunched into it, and then when an accident happens, it's numbers of deaths, families. It's a big loss, but great that they realize it now. It's up to them to take a decision whether they should do it now, but I would say no, because you are trying to replace a lot of things. And again, you're trying to do this new thing all of a sudden here. There better be a place where you can test, see what how much of cost effective it's going to be, how fast they can do these things, because there's no point starting something now if you can't finish it. Then you have some good, some bad, again you don't get the real results because of it, because you stop middle way. You can't really achieve the proper potential to it. Yeah.
All right. So now, in that context, do you think now, just as much as these new establishments are coming up, they also create an atmosphere and a chance, an opportunity for our locals to get into much more employment opportunities? Do you think this is actually going in hand? It has a positive element, whereas it has a negative element as well. But then again, the government, rather, as you all said, they might not have a futuristic plan as to, okay, now diversification happens in the market, okay, from tea we are getting into electronics or food processing, and now we are going to manufacture the buses from local itself. So do you think, just as much as the opportunities, now you mentioned about the ugly truth or else the negative part, do you think the opportunities would be rightfully fitting for the Sri Lankans?
I mean, look, it's very general, right? I mean, you're talking about a massive project that you're going to get your hands on new. Great that jobs are being created and all that. But we have to see what we have right now and improve on those first. Master in one thing before diversifying and putting your hands on everything and trying to get everything going on. Our main has always been garments anyways. It has been tea, rubber, then what else do we have? Like I said, graphite, all of these things. I mean, these are products or materials that we already have. I'll give you a good instant for once. When we come up with the product, okay, so basically, have you heard of Dr. Ray Vijayawardena? You all have? Brilliant. So you all know about the landmaster thing. So he created it in 1955, but the British took it over, patented, and by 1960, it's already a global product. Everybody knows they did it, not Dr. Ray Vijayawardena. He didn't get the credit. He was happy to give it because it was making the farmers' lives easier, right? But where was the government to step in and be like, look, we need to master this. This is going to be our brand, our flagship. Those are certain things that we can even see right now. Focus on them because they are still going to generate employment, revenue, development. They're still going to do that. But if you have hands on everywhere, you're not going to do anything right completely.
All right, so there has its pros and cons as well, but the government should rightfully balance it off and provide the opportunities, because developing the local industries is crucial, yes, as much as bringing about these new avenues as well. Yes. All right, so Mr. Gajasinghe, now when it comes to the electronics, the Export Development Board has identified that electrical and electronic components has a key future focus. So now Sri Lanka is adapting this new mechanism to bring about industries that are capable to generate the electronics locally as well, because we have been importing them as much as possible, and Sri Lanka has not been the tech hub for most of the time. So this is a new thing that most of our viewers, Sri Lankans, would perceive with. What do you think that Sri Lanka getting into this segment as something that is in the development era, or rather it has more potential or it has more time to get onto it?
Yes, I think that we have to understand the context here. So Sri Lanka is a country with the popular politics. So that is the reality. So if you go to the various news items in the past, there are number of developmental plans, right? So if you think during the previous government, we had this vehicle production, various branded car production, which was being very famous, ultimately end up with only just 3 vehicles. So I mean, if we are talking about this theoretical new avenue of electronic item production, that is superb. I mean, there is no way I can say that that is negative or that is not happening. But if you see the practical scenario, we as a country still struggling with very minor new plan implementations. So this is a very big ask. So I think this is another part of popular politics where we are going to discuss and get attention of the public rather than we are talking about real practical scenarios. I mean, that's what I feel, because if before we stepping into this new avenue of electrical item production in Sri Lanka, which I doubt whether we have the capability, whether we have the infrastructure, and whether we have the labor to produce it to match the international market, because the price has to match the international market. We are in a competition. So I think this discussion is still without assessing this basic background details. That's what I feel.
All right. So in your understanding and in your belief, there is much more potential and much more space to actually develop internally and get into these kind of risky avenues, because it is something that we need to develop in terms of the infrastructure and get into that kind of markets as well.
Yes. If I am giving a simple example, we are experts in farming, but still the price of our banana is higher than the price of banana in Australian market. So if we are still lagging behind in managing the production cost of what we are experts at, what will be the the end result of the new avenues, so the new production materials, if we haven't done our homework properly. So I think this is the popular politics. The government is and the related institutions are just talking about various things to please the public and get their attention, rather than they are looking at true potentials of our nation.
Yes, because like Doctor said, like we have things to focus right now in our hand. So we must master them first before trying to start other things. Same thing with the farmers. We have private companies using drones to minus wages. Minusing wages means those are like overheads. That means the end product also will reduce. So where the drone goes, plants the paddy, comes back, reloads, and then it starts from where it stopped. This is great. I mean, it's faster, it's efficient, cost effective, everything. So why isn't the government doing this more? Why aren't they promoting it more? I'm not talking about a particular government. I'm saying that the government should make the farmers' lives easier, because even the craftsmanship of the farmers are dying now with generation, I mean, right? So either we keep up with modern technology and get the right output, or completely lost the agriculture sector altogether. So those are things that we can focus now.
I believe with the discussion about the development of local industries, we also discuss as to how we might have forgotten about the traditional ways of bringing about the money to Sri Lanka and also improving them, rather thinking about more modernized ways. So there has been a question, or there will be a question, as to what the government is planning ahead in terms of developing the local industries. So before that, let's go in for a short commercial break. This is TPS. Welcome back to TPS. We were discussing about the risk appetite that Sri Lanka has in terms of the development of local industries as well, and also the new potentials in terms of the growing market. So something that we've been discussing in the previous episodes as well is about the tariff condition. Now, tariff directly impacts the local industries, because it's pivotal for us to pay the tariffs, go through that process, and also make sure that our local industries don't get lost in the process. So do you feel like because of this tariff, obviously there is a big danger for our local industries, but what do you think that the government can do differently than what it is happening currently in terms of facing this situation?
I mean, the tariff has really affected us now, right? Again, all of these things could be avoided in the past. We had ample time. Now we are just getting the whole bunch of it, right? So there's no solution that I can say, look, today we can do this and change it tomorrow, because this is geopolitics. Now we are just in a whole different level of politics here. There's so many things affecting, there's so many reasons why these world leaders are changing whenever they want to. Again, policy instability, again, government instability, war. It's just all prices, right? It's all money, right? So the countries that are under are going much under. The countries that are developing will most likely develop, but even they will take a hit for sure, right? Because if it's not consistent, and if it is getting higher and higher and higher, we are not going to be able to cope with it. It's very difficult. Again, the one thing that we can is that the reason why our tariffs are so high and why it's hitting us so hard is because we are relying on imports a lot. Right? If we increase the other side of it, the export side of it, then there's a give and take. You all need me as much as I need you. So that is the level a government should be responsible to bringing up a country to that level. The quality of life, the proudness of our country. We are Sri Lankans, we don't really need you, but we are going to play nice because we have to live together peacefully, look into the future. But right now, it's more like we have to bend over and we have to agree to them and be like, yes, sure, why not? We have no choice. So right now, can we solve it? No. We have to first get out of this debt. We have to reconstruct our economy. We have to develop our local establishments. And then hopefully we'll come to a place where we can say, and we can negotiate at least, say, look, this is not fair. Yes.
All right. So now, with that regards, I'm going to get into you now. The loopholes, I believe even any government, when they get into power, they do see the previous loopholes in terms of economy, policy making or whatsoever. Now, if you take about economy, now there are so many loopholes that the government might not be fixing in the current moment, but rather focusing on different avenues or aspects, maybe the international relationships we have with other countries. But now, then again, the development of local industries is something pivotal as well, but it has its own loopholes, as you all mentioned. Now, in that context, what are the significant loopholes you think needs immediate fixing?
Yes, so I mean, there will be multiple views with regard to that, but I would like to give you a sort of a unique expression or the explanation on this, how the government should look at this. So I think when it comes to our economy and our local industries, there is a problem which is unique to our culture. So we had a sort of a culture which was being denied by the people. So the politicians we have changed, but the similar changes are there in the industrial sector as well. So we need a development industrial sector, that's true. But who should do it? We all know it should be done by the entrepreneurs. But the problem is, do Sri Lanka has true entrepreneurs? This is something we haven't looked at, or the government haven't understood, the past governments. So I think in Sri Lanka there is a big problem with regard to identifying these entrepreneurs, because the giants that we see in the markets are really producing something new or productive to the economy. That's a problem. If you go into the detail, recently we heard about some sort of billions worth premises was being given to a minister to be used by, according to him, by a friend. That friend's company is registered as a tea exporting company. But if you go into the details, not a single kilogram of tea is being exported by that particular company. So he is still wealthy to give a billions worth premises to be used by a minister. Then what is his true business? It's a question. If you go into the COVID era, we were in a big financial crisis, but there was some assistance from India. But after that assistance, one of our big companies get hold into a government and they got approval to import electrical equipments. That's not the need from that dire crisis situation, right? And we know another leading company was found to be involved in importing toxic clinical material against the law. So we have set of entrepreneurs who we recognize as giants in Sri Lankan economy, but actually they are making profit not by producing something new or making productive businesses to the economy, but rather finding loopholes in various laws. So we have to identify this. Unless if the government is going to nourish these methods, those will be damaging to the economy rather than supporting the economy. I mean, these are not the fault of these particular individuals. This is the society, or this is the methods nourished by the Sri Lankans. So that's why they keep doing, because they are allowed to do it, they are benefiting it, they are doing it. But if government change this, they also might change, because they also might be having skills and new ideas, but they are not attempting it because they have an easy way out here. So it's important to establish the law and order and good governance and equal treatment to all businessmen and all companies. I think the more effective and more productive entrepreneurs are with new ideas are there in the middle grade companies, because they can't rise or they can't bloom because this corrupt system is keeping certain companies higher than them. They can't cope with them because they are not happy to do the business in illegal way. So if you make this legal framework standard and equal, I think we will see more and more productive businesses which give true positive impact on economy will rise. And I think after that government will not have to do much. They just have to look after them. They will do the targets of this foreign reserve and they will bail out the country.
Right. So actually in that context, what you meant was good governance and the economy actually goes in hand in hand.
Definitely.
So this must be forgotten, because I believe when we prioritize one thing, we forget the rest, but it should be a balance of both. All right, so something that I want to ask from you, Mr. Subhaga, is the fact that now when it comes to sustainable economy, something that we can enrich in our local industries is this. And it has a huge global market as well. And I believe companies like MAS, Brandix actually utilize this in a good way as well, because sustainable economy is something that can take us into great heights when it comes to the economy. So do you think, rather than just 2 or 3 companies focusing on this, there's a plethora of opportunities when it comes to the local industries to incorporate sustainability?
So speaking of economic sustainability, right? So that means the entire economy is sustained, not just one section or one part of it. So here I see monopolization. Like what Doctor said before, you have the small companies trying to rise up, but then you have the monopolized countries that are aligned with political demands, country demands, and they get the best out of it, maybe even the bad out of it, right? But the small, medium enterprises cannot climb, right? So when the monopolized companies are focused on few sections, apparel, tea, rubber, coconut, so what about the rest of it? We have to focus on sustainable energy, like green, friendly, eco-friendly. I mean, those are the things that the world is keeping up with today. Because if you don't have the environment, then all of this is no point, right? The entire economy is not going to sustain then, right? So there are bigger problems that we see that should be. See, again, how did we come to this point? Because we took careless mistakes. Now we can see change in climate, etc., and we know how it's affecting our day-to-day lives. So we can always capital on that. And remember, we are a tropical country. We have everything, natural resources that we need to sustain or be healthy. Honestly, we do. We have the salt, we have the sun, we have everything we do. So sustainable energy. Those are sectors that we can always focus on and show, this is Sri Lanka, we are heavily leaned on sustainable energy. And because of that, as a result, our economy is also being sustained. Everywhere, generally, I mean equally, not just 1 or 2 sections where they can just climb out to the top, and when the energy is blown out, then you don't know what else to do. So there are seasons, right? There are seasons where where mangoes are coming, then there are seasons where pineapples are coming. So what you need to be is aware what is going to come, and we need to be ready to able to give that demand at that time. Not search for it at that point where, oh, now what do? We have to be ready. We have to know, and then we have to just give those results to the people here in locally and also globally. Of course, definitely.
Right. So in that context, even to adapt sustainable economy, you need to have that preparedness and getting to the point where all aspects of the economy is rightfully getting that substantial significance in improving the sustainability. So it gives a pawn to the common growth as well.
Definitely.
Amazing. All right. So now something that you can actually give about to our viewers, a final remark in terms of the development of local industries. I believe we discussed about a lot of things, the international exposure, and also how it is crucial to think through the internal aspects, the loopholes, the challenges, and the mechanisms to improve on them. Something that you and we can work around in terms of the development of local industries, something that our viewers can actually absorb from today's episode.
Yes, 2 things. One thing is, that you ask about this Ashok Leyland story. So, the government is working on, the promoting Ashok Leyland bus production in Sri Lanka locally. But at the same time, government is promoting importing luxury buses. The government is promoting at the moment, we are going to import this much of luxury buses to improve the transport. So, it doesn't match. Right? So, what Modi did was, he get the concept of made in India. After that, he promote the production. So, you have to prepare the market and then you promote the production. But what is happening in Sri Lanka is, one side you promote the production, at the same time you are promoting the foreign products. So, therefore, that's why we need a visionary leaderships. We need a leader with a vision that does not change, and the other members of the party or the parliament has to align with him. Otherwise, you will have a confused market, confused community. So, one thing. And for the public, that's for the government. For the public, you have to understand we have to rise as a nation, a one nation. So, you can't go just by the price tag, whether the one product is less than the other. You have to think, when you buy this product, where do you put your money? Whether it's going into a local production company or whether it's going to some foreign nation. Because you might be thinking of few cents benefit, but at the end, the lot of local revenue will be lost. So, we are in a troublesome situation. So, at least the capable people have to think about that. At the same time, when you promote or when you select a product or the company, also think about what they are doing and how they promote themselves. So, if a particular company is promoting a green method, I think we have to give some priority to them. That is acceptable, because then that will promote other companies also to follow a good habits and good practices. So, as people also, we have to think more than just the profit or the benefit of price in developing country or developing these local industries. So, next time when you decide on a product, think whether it's worth, the price gap is worth for going for a foreign product, or whether you can change your choice to promote some sort of a good practice by a company.
All right, thank you so much. A very short and sweet final remark that you can actually give to our spectators with regards to this specific topic of the development of local industries, because I believe all our citizens are actually connected with local industries. So then again, what do you think that they need to think through with this episode?
Well, my opinion or the guidance that I could give is, make sure you keep on innovating. Make sure you're up to date with the technologies, with the modern market, right? So don't stop, don't fail in your creativity, and I hope the government's job to make things efficient, transparent, citizen friendly, so that we are not frustrated to get things done. Their job is to make things easy for our life, right? But at the same time, we need to follow the rules, the policies, right? And work hard on what we need to achieve, and most of all, try to always be 2 steps ahead, or to identify what's coming in the future, how to avoid problems, how to avoid failures. There's so many effective, there's so many efficient, there's so many opportunities that Sri Lanka can offer. You just need to identify it first, develop on it, be consistent, and get proper results from it. I think we'll be a great nation if we can do that. Everybody has to have that vision. And like what the good doctor said, prices are there, there's quality, and there's supporting our own, right? If we can encourage our own to develop their products better, and if we can help as well, as a government, if we can help, then hopefully we will all be in one equal level one day, moving forward. Yes.
I believe that's a very brilliant take-home message for all our viewers as well. So today's discussion was about the development of local industries and how much it is important, because it's not only the development of factories or the exports, but then again stabilizing the economic backbone in terms of being a resilient Sri Lanka and making sure that the internal aspect is developing while we improve on our regional corporations as well. So I want to thank Dr.Seneth Gajasinghe, thank you so much, and also Mr. Subhaga Herath, thank you so much for these two gentlemen for joining us today. We will see you again with another episode where we discuss about the most crucial elements in the political landscape of Sri Lanka. Till then, take care, be safe, and have a good night.
Sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights, when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on.